We have two regulars back in the economic war room. Both are experts on securing the electric grid. That's certainly a timely topic after the recent near miss of a solar flare that did create some amazing northern light effects that we saw as far south as Alabama. First, we have Tommy Waller, the president and CEO of the Center for Security Policy. Tommy retired from the Marine Corps Reserves at the rank of lieutenant colonel after serving more than 2 decades on both active duty and in the reserve with deployments to Afghanistan, Iraq, Africa, and the Caribbean. David Tice is the CEO of Paul Revere Films, LLC, and the executive producer and financier of the major motion picture Soul Surfer. His passion for film led him to further success as an early investor when co-financing the script for Sony's feature film, When the Game Stands Tall. But in the last 3 years, he's completed the production of an award-winning feature documentary about the vulnerability of our power grid entitled Grid Down, Power Up. The documentary is serving as a springboard to initiate an organized social action movement to secure our nation's power grid. This is a truly economic story. Without the grid, there is no economy. Previous to his film endeavors, David set records during his 30-year investment career, founding and managing 2 mutual funds, which grew to $1.6 billion under management. Welcome, Tommy and David.
Yeah, thank you for having us on, Kevin, and for consistently covering this issue of the grid.
Well, let's start with the problem. Why should we be concerned about the electric power grid?
Well, just imagine life without electricity. And the longer you imagine that timeline of being without electricity, the worse it gets.
I know people don't think. That means no food, that means no water, that means, a whole lot of things that we are desperately in need of for life itself.
That's right.
Human beings need water every 3 days, and our municipal water systems are mostly 100% dependent upon our power grid.
Yeah, so you're looking at potentially, it depends on where you live. I mean, if you're in an urban environment and you need, for example, water to be pumped up to your high-rise apartment, you could just be minutes without power where you lose water pressure. And unless you're prepared to go without water that's supplied to you through that municipal water supply, then you're going to be in a bad spot, right? And that's just one tiny example. But ultimately, grid security is national security, grid security is economic security, and that's why our Center for Security Policy and its founder, Frank Gaffney, has long warned about the need to secure our grid, and that's why he started a movement to do it, over a decade ago with our Secure the Grid Coalition.
Yeah, well, you think about it, if you don't have electricity, I'll just get in my car and I'll drive someplace else, right? And that's what people do when the power goes out. They go over to the neighbors and they're fine. I mean, I read the book 1 second after, and it's frightening. The first day is not bad, second day is a little worse, third day is a little worse, and then after that it's chaos.
Yeah.
So actually the EMP Commission operated at the behest of Congress for 17 years, and they found that if we were without power for 9 months or longer, as many as 90% of Americans would die. So therefore, we're talking about a catastrophic situation.
We're just not ready to go back to the land. We're not ready to hunt, fish, get clean water, live like maybe it's 1850, right?
Yeah, well, and the interesting thing about it was that when the Congressional EMP Commission did that study and they found that 90% number, the way they did it was just looked at what was the population of our country before electricity, and it was roughly 30 million people. So they kind of figured, okay, the North American landmass can hold 30 million people, and that's 10% of our current population, roughly. The difference is, as you just mentioned, Kevin, how many people today, compared to back then, know how to live without electricity? And so the unfortunate reality is that the numbers could be even worse than 90% perishing within a year because of all the circumstances David just mentioned, the societal collapse.
And medicine, you need electricity to get medicine delivered or created. Yep. You live in a high rise, how do you even get out of your high rise if you don't, you can walk down the stairs, but then where do you sleep? Where do you live?